Penny Hill, and welcome back to this week's Take Fives. Today is Thursday, and we're continuing in the book of Exodus as we look at the story of God journeying his people out of slavery in Egypt and towards the promised land. And today we are in Exodus 21 to 23, and we're following on really from yesterday's story, which looked at the 10 commandments. And today you'll see as you read through, there's a whole bunch of other commandments that God sets out for his people, and that Moses delivers them to God's people. And ultimately, when you read through this, you might think, I'm not really sure how important and relevant some of this stuff is literally to my day-to-day stuff, like how to be a good master to a Hebrew slave. You know, that might not be too relevant to your situation today, or how to cope with agricultural damage caused by a neighbour or someone in the street, probably again not too relevant, and how we handle and engage in specific Jewish feasts and festivals, again probably not specifically relevant to your situation today. But there is, beneath all of these kind of specific laws, there is a principle that I think is massively important to us today. So God's heart in setting out these rules was that he cared about everything, right? He didn't just care about the big things like murder and idolatry and theft, but he also cared about literally everything, about how you speak, about whether or not we blaspheme, or how we talk about the leader of our country, and how we talk about the truth and whether or not we're lying. And these kind of more minutiae details God gave equal importance to. God really cared about how the Israelites lived, not just in the big things, but against the really big, really small things, and, you know, some of the things in between as well. You know, yesterday we talked a little bit about how the Israelites' identity shaped the way that they lived, things that they didn't do, things that they did do, that marked them and set them apart from other people who were around, that they were very different, they were distinct because of the way that they lived. And again, it's kind of that, it's this same idea that God wants us to live differently, right down to the things that maybe nobody even sees, the things that just happen internally, the things that create who you are on the inside, not just these big things. God also writes down specific rules around rest, right? Around how they should rest and when they should rest and when they should gather and how they should remember him. Because he knows that ultimately, without it being a rule, they're unlikely to keep to it. Because busyness takes over, because life takes over, so God makes it a rule. He makes it easy to follow, that if they are going to be a people that follow these rules, then I'll make it a rule for you to rest, so that you definitely do. And I'll make it a rule that you gather to meet with your people to think about me, because if I make it a rule, then you have to. It's these basic things that they have to get in place before they want to do them. They know that they have to do them. And that's kind of what God's doing in this. He's just reminding his people to slow down and remember his faithfulness, and that I'll enforce it as part of your calendar so that you are given the gift of that time. And ultimately, as I said, these laws, you know, as kind of specific to the cultural time as they are, they remind us that God cares very deeply about absolutely every part of our life. Is there anything that you are withholding God's reach in your life? Is there anything that you're saying, you know, yeah, God, you have all of me, but not my political opinion? Or yeah, God, you can have all of me, but don't talk about money. Or yeah, God, you can have all of me, but my relationships with my family, I decide. And is there anything that is off limits from God's reach into your life? Because God cares about absolutely every facet of your life. He wants access to it all. So maybe spend some time today thinking and praying and reflecting on whether there is anything that you're saying, God, don't touch this. God, don't give me guidance about this. God, I don't want to know what you think about this. I'm good. Thanks anyway. Because ultimately, if we're going to be part of God's family, then we need to look like him. And so allowing him to shape our ideas and our thoughts and our lives is central to what it means to be a child of God. So have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for Friday's Take 5. What? How did we get to Friday already?